皆様、ご機嫌うるわしゅう。ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式ナビゲーターのバーチャルドールたぬきゆかです。日本初の VR 映画に特化した国際映画祭ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルは2月12日金曜日から21日日曜日まで10日間にわたって開催中です。オンライン会場で国内外から厳選した VR 映画を配信しているのに加えて、ほぼ毎晩トークイベントを行い、Zoom でのライブ配信と YouTube でのアーカイブ配信をしています。最終日21日日曜日のアワードセレモニーでは、配信作品の中から3作品にアワードが授与されるほか、審査員のそのしおんさん、大宮エリーさん、福田敦さん、さらにアンバサダーのコムアイさんもご登場。もちろん僕も参加します。映画祭について詳しくはビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルの公式サイトをチェックしてくださいね。またこのライブ配信では日本語と英語の通訳が利用できます。画面右下の通訳ボタンを押して日本語か英語の通訳を選択してください。それではお待たせいたしました。今夜のイベントは VR 映画の新たな作り手が感じた可能性、実写、アニメ、VR における表現力の差分と題して、FOVE監督のシュー・チー・エンさん、MOWB監督の湯原和樹さん、償い監督のミケル・バタフェルトさん、ザ・ブック・オブ・ディスタンス監督のランドール・沖田さんがご登壇。モデレーターは株式会社FOVE CEO& コーファウンダーの小島由香さんです。小島さん、よろしくお願いします。
じゃあこんばんは。
Good evening. I am Yuka Kojima of CEO co-founder of FOVE Inc. The Beyond the Frame Festival started last week, and we only have today's session as well as the Sunday's award ceremony to go. Now, tonight, we are going to have a panel discussion with the title of Possibilities Felt by the New Creators of VR Films, Differences in Expression Between Live Action, Animation, and VR. First, I would like to start by introducing myself. I will be serving as a moderator. I developed eye tracking headset in FOVE Zero. So in a 3D environment, we do the gaze UI control, and also using the movements of the eye, we do the eye contact. And also in technical speaking, to where people are seeing, we try to lessen the burden of the GPU. So that's the kind of the headset that we are creating. And originally, the reason why I decided to create such a device is that I also have wanted to create some movies and films. And the characters in the virtual environment, I wanted to have an eye contact with them. This is the film of 2013, and this is the viewpoint of the user. And if you look at her face, then she will smile you back. So this way, in a virtual environment, I wanted to have a nonverbal communication and have more interaction. And that's the kind of storytelling that I wanted to create. And so that's why I came up with this device. And so this way, so like this, I myself, I wanted to create a new expression in the films, and that's why I came in this VR area. But this time, we have such an international event, and I'm very much looking forward to talk with the VR creators. And tonight, one thing that is common to the directors today is that their VR works screened at this festival were their first ever challenge to the VR. So we have 4 such new VR creators, and we would like to talk about the possibility of potentialities of expression utilizing the VR. So first, I would like to introduce the panelists, distinguished panelists. First of all, from Taiwan, we have Mr. HSU Chih-Yen, who is the director of the films, music video, and commercial director, and his work Home is now being screened at this festival. Nice to see you. HSU Chih-Yen, can you turn on the video, please?
Yep. I cannot open my. Yes. Hi. Can you see it?
見えます。
Hi.
Yes, I can see.
Oh, hi. I am Chih-Yen, the director for the Home. And I'm going to show the two video for my work and simple introduction for myself. I originally is shooting music video, and after that I did my first feature film, which is a co-director. So I show the first one is Home's teaser to everyone. Wait a second.
多分ですね。
Maybe, Shu-san, we have
yeah.
the time for presentations, so maybe you can show that. So first of
Later?
all, let's just, yes, later, please.
Okay.
Then,
Then next panelist is Mr. Kazuki Yuhara, who is an illustrator and animation creator, and his work MOWB is being screened. Nice to see you. Yes, I am Yuhara. Nice to see you.
そして、
And another panelist is Mikkel Battefeld. He's from Denmark, and his work Amends is being screened. Nice to see you,
Thank you for
Mikkel-san.
having me.
お願いします。
Nice to see you. And the last panelist is we are joined with Canada, who is the director of the Book of Distance. We have Mr. Randall Okita. Nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, so one by one, we would like to have you present your works, which are being screened at the Beyond the Festival, Frame Festival. And then after that, at the panel discussion, we would like to delve deeper. Also, we will, and we are entertaining questions from the audience. So anyone who has questions, who have comments, we have such wonderful panelists here. So please utilize the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, and you can just type in your question. So we will like to respond to some of the questions towards the end of this session. So thank you very much for waiting. So let's start with HSU Chih-Yen, who is very active in Taiwan. And your work, Home, is being screened at this festival. So the stage is yours.
Okay. Hi. So I'm going to show the teaser for the Home.
Chih-Yen.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Has it stopped? Is it frozen?
Is it work it or not? No. Sorry. Then I try again.
出ましたか？
Just check again. Do you hear the sound? No, or only the
そうですね。音がちょっと聞こえなか
It
った。
seems that we didn't have a sound. We were missing the sound. But
Okay. Okay, it's okay.
I-
Then I just introduce myself, and I originally is shooting music video, and after that I shooting my first feature film. Then after that I feel like depression or struggling because I don't know what I'm going to tell to share my story in next step. Then I got an opportunity from the Kaohsiung Film Festival. They are going to cooperate a VR film. So I back to thinking my family. I'm a big family in Taiwan, which means like in Chinese New Year, we were like 30 people getting together. But 2 years ago, my grandma passed away. Then so which means that all the family is like separate. So I trying to tell the regret because in the beginning when I was a young adult, I back to my family. I used to swipe my iPhone. I want to hang out with my friends, things like that. But suddenly I find everything is gone. So that's the reason I shooting my family. So what I'm going to do, I will share another one. I try to let the sound on. It's working? Thank you. 我爸爸他是新营人，然后三兄弟就我爸爸、阿伯、姑姑都是在这里长大。但我是台北人，所以每一次只要过年或端午节或清明节，所有的
This is
天
my
山的家人，大家
old
都会回
home,
来这里看。
my old house.
然后
And
叫他舅家。
because my
顾名
grandma
思义
passed
就是一个
away, so
新家
government is
因为
going
爷
to
爷奶奶过
let
世
this
了
house
然后这里是政府
disappear.
以前的日本的军眷村那样要收。
It's original from
所以我
Japan
想
because
要
in
把这个记
Taiwan
录下来。
we
这个地
are
方阿嬷刚过世几个月，
belong
这个地方
in
已经回归
Japan
了政府。
like few
就
times.
还有这个机会，我就想说，那就跟高雄电影节合作，就拍了这个影片。这个故事是用一个已经消逝的场景跟一个已经离开的人的观点来记录，还没离开的我们。就是重点其实是在我们，因为是 VR，VR 就是一次就把360度拍下来，然后它的观看方式。 所以我就想说，用阿嬷的观点把旧家记录下来。长辈们离开之后，其实家族们就会分散，没有了一个源头，大家就不会再相聚。所以想要借由这个方式，让我的家人们大家都可以再次回来旧家，再次重现跟阿嬷相处的样貌。 在陈设的部分，就希望美术指导协助，让旧家很真实的复原。那些家具全部都由三兄弟有收集起来，包含像桌子、椅子、匾额、照片跟阿嬷看的 DVD，
甚至像大伯他连阿嬷过期的药袋、血压计跟那个片中那个助听器都是真实以前阿嬷留下来的。我是导演，可是我很排斥让我的职业在家族里面被大家讨论，所以在决定要决定拍摄旧家，要决定请家人来演的时候，也是想了很久。但我最近有了小孩，然后爷爷奶奶又过世，同时爸爸开始老，那个小朋友长大，大人变老的那个时间感越来越强烈，所以对我而言，这是一次坦诚相见。对观众来讲，我不确定那个共鸣度有没有出来，因为每个家庭不太一样。但是，每一个一直正在离开的长辈，我认为会是有共鸣的。所以我想要让大家看看自己的样子，在长辈前面的样子，这个是我想要记录
的。Because after my first feature film, my sorting is still on the reality, like for the real shooting. So even the technology is VR, I still trying to focus on the performance, the real person's performance, and also the transition. So I choosing use one shot. The home is 17 minutes one shot, which use my grandma's point of view. So when you put the VR glasses, you will become my grandma. So I focus on my family. Then which one should come first, and when everybody have to gather together, then what time everybody have to leave. That part is more interesting for me. So that's about home. I hope you guys can understand. That's it. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. When I saw Home for the first time, so I have a grandma and a grandpa. Whenever I went home, I would be using my iPhone as well. And Grandma and Grandpa used to wonder if I was having a good time. But after watching Home, and when I became Grandma in Home, just the family coming together made me feel so warm-hearted. And for the first time, I understood how my grandma must have felt. And I think this is an amazing film. And today, let's hear more from you later on, I think.
Okay, thank you.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. Now next, I'd like to call on Mr. Kazuki Yuhara. Yes, thank you. I'd like to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, I think I have 10 minutes, so I'd like to begin. My name is Kazuki Yuhara, and I would like to introduce a work that I've produced. Thank you very much. First, let me introduce myself. I'm currently at the Tokyo University of the Arts at the Graduate School of Film, majoring in animation. Before graduate school, I studied media art at the Tama Art University. And while producing works at university, a big theme for me was mother and child relationships. So affection, babies, those are the themes that I was very interested in. And for my graduation project, I thought, can't I do something that's not conventional 2D animation? Can't I do something with VR animation? And I came up with MOWB. And I was at Tama Art University then, majoring in media arts. And they don't restrict how or where you express yourself, and that had a big impact. And it all started when Professor Sasaki lent me an omnidirectional camera called the Ricoh Theta. You attach it to your iPhone to do the filming. And then I loaded the images onto my computer and traced over the lines, and I started to wonder if I could come up with an animation, and I made a VR animation. And unlike conventional film, the audience have to wear a head-mounted display to watch, which is a big difference. Literally, expressions going beyond the frame of film became possible. And back then, I did not have any VR equipment. On YouTube, I uploaded my 360-degree animation, and I confirmed as I produced. And when the film was completed for the first time, I used a friend's PSVR and watched my work for the first time. And I was amazed that it had turned out to be a proper piece of work. And the theme of my work is mother and child linked by an umbilical cord. And in the VR's closed space, that became the mother's womb. And I produced a story that takes place inside. And as the daughter grows, the mother gradually becomes smaller in the closed space. Unendingly, life is repeatedly born and absorbed. And here, I'd like you to watch the trailer of my film. MOWB is a 360-degree hand-drawn VR animation. The audience uses a head-mounted display and can experience the animation. And there's an abstract enhancement of your field of view through animation. And the audience can enjoy an immersive experience that they've never experienced before. It's very attractive. So that showed you the 360-degree video on PC. And the audience can intervene in the video's perspective, which is interesting. You can freely look at what you want, and it's as if you are truly inside the video. On the other hand, being able to look around freely means there may be scenes the producer wants to show and you might miss them. So when there are important scenes, things I really wanted to show, the audience's experience might end up being something I did not intend. And the solution was using the umbilical cord to link the two. The mother and child bond. This theme was visually expressed and also became an expression that manages to utilize VR media. If you follow the umbilical cord across the screen, you'll naturally be guided to the character I want to see. I created this kind of developed view on Photoshop, and from the background to the characters, I produced in 2D, and I was very thorough about that. The space design and sense of perspective were produced using grids like this. I calculated the field angle when uploaded onto YouTube and used perspective to change the size of objects. And ending up with a space as planned was very satisfying. This is the storyboard. I started drawing 360-degree storyboards, but it took too much time. So I went back to the usual way of doing it. For example, I showed you this before. It shows you the swings on the sea. So I'd grasp the overall image with the storyboards, and it would end up looking like this. And the storyboard for the temple was a rough sketch, very rough, and it ended up like this. And I used the storyboard to think about the order of events. And when finishing the images, to grasp the image of the scenes. And when producing as a team, a different way of doing this is probably necessary. And this is my final slide. So incorporating VR expression means, from a different perspective, I was able to more deeply express the theme of mother and child relationships. And MOWB, as a combination of 2D animation and VR, was able to expand the feel of hand-drawn animation to beyond the frame. And the sense of being embraced by something warm, the sense of actually being there, is something unique to VR, I think. That's all from Yuhara. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. You feel like you're actually in the womb of the mother. And this 360 degrees, you're using the space really widely, but you always trace the umbilical cord. So naturally, your viewpoint reaches the mother. It seems that you are yourself become a fetus. You feel like it gives you such a feeling and such a new experience. Thank you very much. So I'd like to hear from you later on. Thank you. Next, thank you very much for waiting. From Denmark, we have Mr. Mikkel Battefeld. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for having me again. Yes, I'm Mikkel Battefeld. I'm from Denmark. I'm a director and computer graphic artist. I think I would like to start off with showing you the trailer of my project, Amends. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick here. And there should hopefully be some sound as well. Thank you so much. So to start off, Amends is a story about a child and a mother and a dysfunctional home growing up. It's a story about a connection with a mother and how this connection is growing and in a way shrinking as you grow up. Having this project being a VR project was very important for me in the way that it was important for me that you could take the position as the child next to the mother and feel that closeness and both distance between you and the mother as you grow up. It was created on top of personal recollection of my own childhood. So it's in some ways a very real story. It's also at some other times made into more like a creative abstract recreation of the emotions I had growing up back then. It's a project that I made during my last year of my bachelor education as a computer graphic artist. It is a year where we have a chance to pitch a project to all the other students and they get to decide what project they would like to work on. And I was lucky enough that people liked my project. And so I got a team of 8 people working with me on it, which simulated a completely normal production, which was an amazing experience. And we were lucky enough to get a very lovely project out of it in the end that were both challenging in the way of how to produce the project on a creative way, but also on an emotional level, because it was a cathartic reunion with my past in a way. It was a way for me to look at my past and put it into words and a creative creation in a way. So it was a chance for me to look at my past and figure out what do I think about it now being 28 years old. It's obviously some time ago that this was a thing. So it's been quite a lovely journey actually. Amends is my first VR experience that I've directed. I've had the chance of directing kids' short films before, like cute little short animations. I've done commercial projects. So I've done projects for NGOs as well. And now I'm working on projects with a little bit of like a variety of clients right now, working with a nurse currently in recreating stories from how it is to be a nurse, and also a project about near-death experience and how that is to have experienced that as well. So it's kind of going in the same topics that I already was interested in before, which is a great honor for me to be working in this field in VR in now and hopefully more so in the future. I hope that more people will like to see Amends in the future, and thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you very much. I watched your work, and in the rain before the apartment, the child is just helpless, and the child couldn't enter into the house. I'm sorry, I think I'm revealing the story, but in the end, I'm a spoiler in a way. But yes, I also felt the catharsis. Thank you very much. So I'd like to hear from you later on again. Then, let's go to Mr. Randall Okita.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I love all of this work that's been presented. There's so much emotion, and I really love the artistry. I'm very lucky to be here. So my name is Randall Okita, and I'm the writer and director of the Book of Distance. I'm excited to be here to share with you. So let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I make films as a writer and director, some short films, some long films, and I also work making sculptures and installations. So a lot of the experiences making these different kinds of work came together while I was working on the Book of Distance, which is my first VR project. And so while I was making the project, I was trying to sort of balance two ways of thinking. One is the user experience design, how people interact with objects that might be presented to them, and how people are prompted to move through spaces. So I should mention that the Book of Distance is room scale. So it's standing room scale VR. And then of course, we wanted to balance that with a sense of story, a narrative structure that incorporated the viewpoint of the user and the viewpoint of the storyteller. So a little bit about the story. The Book of Distance is the story of my grandfather, and it follows him as he traveled across the ocean from Japan to Canada. So it's about his hopes and his dreams, and it's about his experience of state-sanctioned racism during World War II. And ultimately, it's a story about his courage and his resilience, and how this complex history continues to echo in me today. And I made this story because I wanted to introduce the world to my grandfather, who was my hero. And he was also the quietest man that I've ever known. So this work is in part about filling in those silences and the questions that I have about the moments he lived through and some of the stories that it was too difficult for him to talk about. So this project for me is about inviting people to engage with our histories as an act of imagination, to experience the past in a way that can be playful and physical and alive. So in our project, we have two styles of visual language. One style is the layer of archival documents that include government notices, real photographs that you can take with a camera, real letters that you can send and receive, open and interact with. This layer represents the facts that we know, the dates and the time, the dates and the policies of the time. These archival anchors allow us to connect with and interact with facts in a way that feels more alive and playful than just words on the page. And in addition, our other language, we call it the language of imagination. So we chose an art style that evoked theater and mechanical sculpture. This includes transforming hand-painted sets that announce to the audience that these are parts of the story that we're creating. these details represent the questions that we have. And these are the parts that we're creating because photographs from this time don't exist, or because my grandparents refuse to talk about these moments in our history. The style of imagination is how we invite the audience to join us in asking questions about what it was like to be there and to become our partners in learning about and retelling the story. So for me, what I think makes our project different is how it explores the telling and the retelling of history. So it includes the questions that I have. For example, at the beginning of the story, I appear to the audience and I mention that when I think of going to Japan, I think of taking an airplane. But I know when my grandfather traveled to Canada from Japan, he would have come by ship. And so as I tell you this, I pull a railing in front of you, and now suddenly we are both on a ship, standing beside my grandfather, looking over the ocean as we say goodbye. So in this moment, I'm asking you, the audience, the question that I have: what did it feel like to follow his dreams in that moment? So I'm making my uncertainty about what happened an invitation to the audience and part of the story that I'm telling. For me, the Book of Distance highlights that history is not made of a single dominant narrative, but an interwoven set of human experiences that are complex and interconnected. So it's very special and especially meaningful to share this with a Japanese audience, because it's a chance to reconnect with the culture of my extended family and to rebuild a bridge and a connection that I feel was almost lost because of the war. And the way that I think about it, this work and sharing with all of you today is like another chapter in the story of my family and the story of my grandfather's life. And this is a chapter beyond his wildest dreams. So I think retelling the story changes it. And I want to just thank the festival and thank all of you for being a part of our story.
Thank you. In your work, from here, it's Canada. You showed the borderline and the moment you crossed the border. And that moment, I too, it was like going abroad was really tough in those days. There were no airplanes, and I could feel what your grandfather was feeling. I could feel I was entering a bold new world. And it was wonderful interaction and documentary, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. So now, regarding the four directors, to our four directors, I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask you. And first, so in the countries where you live in the regions where you live in, what about VR? Is it popular? Has it penetrated your country? So let's start with Mikkel. So is VR popular in your country?
I think that VR is to an extent a little bit popular. I think that it's mostly used for gaming by most people still, which is, I think, the first major gateway for a lot of people into the digital format of VR, from what I experienced in Denmark, at least. In the creative industry of being around more artists as well, it feels like there's more and more people becoming aware of this new media as an interesting medium to express themselves in. Especially because we have such a big emphasis on games nowadays, and VR seems this. When you have the interactive part of VR, it seems at least like a mix between film and games. So there's like this whole new element of storytelling that it seems like there's a lot of people realizing around me, at least right now. But on a more, like everyday Danish person, VR is maybe not the biggest thing yet, but hopefully it will become more so in the future.
Yes, that's something to look forward to. And I used to work at PlayStation. So I'm from the gaming industry. And games are starting to get closer to film, I think. And the film, or people in the film or industry may feel that you're getting closer to gaming, which means that both are drawing closer to each other. Thank you. And Okita-san, what do you think? What's it like in Canada? Is VR popular, penetrating?
I think it's similar to what Mikkel was saying. You know, for a lot of people, they are curious about it, but they might not be willing to make the leap to purchase a headset yet. But I think it's steadily becoming more popular, and especially during this pandemic time, a lot of people are buying a lot of headsets and are learning more about it. You know, in Canada, we're a big country, so we're very spread out. So when people are stuck at home, I think there's a lot more gaming, there's a lot more consumption of stories. And I think also, as you're both pointing out, the bridge between, say, gaming, entertainment, and art creation, storytelling, you know, as these things start to come together, illustrated by the great work of these artists on the panel, as soon as, you know, it only takes one, I think, great story for an audience member to try it, and then they will realize the possibilities, and from there it will just expand.
そうですね。いや、本当に
I agree. It's true. People like you, creators who are leaders in the industry, we don't need just one good work. We hope you can come up with lots of good works. And that's going to increase the audience as well.
じゃあ、特徴的なちょっと質問になるんですが、
Now, this is going to be a rather weird question, but in home,
とかが結構この
you had the 360-degree space, and there was the frame. The home itself was like a frame. It felt like the home itself was like a square frame. But in MOWB, up, down, left, right, it was all merged into each other. It was like a very space-like kind of space. So this is Beyond the Frame Festival, but a 360-degree space with no frame. From the user's perspective, how do you guide the audience's perspective? And on the other hand,
縁側とかそういったもので作るとかですね。
making a frame using the house. I'm sure you've been going through trial and error, but when you make an ordinary animation, when you make an ordinary film, when you use media with frames, what's the difference between media with frames and VR? So Shu-san, what's the difference?
Yep. For the first questions, in home, the character, it's half is real my family, and half person is actor. So what I'm trying to the rehearsal, I try like 3 days. I let all the person become the real family. So gradually, they will call the actor like auntie. So the real person and fake person is getting like she family. Then after that, trying to prepare, then everyone start to know where they have to be. Like my big uncle, he will always sit in the biggest chair. Then after that, everybody know what they are going to be. So that's the first question, to introduce, to guide the people how to acting. And another one is for like different with the film and VR film. The film I have to do the storyboard. Like I have to do the close up and wide shot and add it to the film. But in the VR film, that's the reason why I'm trying to do the one shot, because I'm tired to do the storyboard, honestly, because in my feature film I have to set up everything. I disagree. I a little bit disagree this kind directing, because my imagination is like everybody is a real person. What they are going to do is the right. I don't want to like cut an action cut to struggling their performance. So it's an amazing moment. It's because in Taiwan, the VR film is the longest. It's a one shot around like 15 minutes. So I do like 5 times or 6 times. The equipment is too hard to shut down. So everybody have to take a break. But no one is like doing the makeup, doing the hair. Everybody just sit down to chatting. There's a one kid just running around, and everybody say, "Hey, so cute." I feel like, oh, it's so real. Why everybody still acting or not? Nobody's acting. I really like shocked in that moment. So after the home, I was like got the sign. It's like, oh, that's the performance. I want to go that way. Yeah. That's it.
なるほど。もうあの空間自体が一つの
I see. So that space itself created a family. And everything inside was natural. It was real. So that's what it was like, I guess.
Yes.
見ててすごい伝わ
Thank
って
you.
きました。ありがとうございます。
Yes, I could feel that. Thank you. And you talked about the storyboard. And Yuhara-san, you talked about how you stopped drawing up the storyboard, or a 360-degree storyboard was too tough, you were saying. So in making a VR film, what was the storyboard like? Yes. So earlier on, HSU Chih-Yen, he talked about it. And to continue what he said, the acting was really natural. I thought they were a real family, but now it turns out half was not a real family. That's a big surprise. I was very surprised.
In case of my storyboard, first I tried out the 36 degrees storyboard, what is there, what is where, and I tried to grasp that and how to move the characters around. And I was thinking about that, but that's needed only when you work with team with other people. If you're working as a team, I believe that you have to have a storyboard for 360 degrees. It is real grass, and probably you should share that with other team members. But if you're doing alone, as long as you know who is where, then you can just have a flat storyboard. And so I just kept with a flat storyboard. So you didn't check it with the headset until you complete it, right? Yes, because I didn't have a headset. I see. Thank you very much. So the way you produce, I thought it was completely different from the ordinary animation, but there are many things that are common, or probably many things that can be supplemented with the imagination. Thank you very much. Now, once again, I go to Mikkel. My question is, films, rather than VR, the major format is on this flat screen. But in creating why did you choose the VR? And while you were producing, did you have same feelings as you were creating the films, or did you have different feelings?
It's interesting because I was originally pitching the project as a VR project, and when I pitched it as a VR project, not a lot of people dared to work with me because it was a new medium and we hadn't been taught in it, and it was quite scary for a lot of people. So I repitched it again as a game that was within the frame that we normally interact with in film and in games, and it just didn't work. in this medium, or in this within this frame. And we worked on it as a game for approximately half a year, only just to completely scrap everything about it and change it back into virtual reality again, because the story, for myself, demanded that you would be in the space. You would be standing and feeling the space and the atmosphere of this home. And a thing that I wanted very quickly, or very early on in the project, was that I wanted you to feel smaller in the space. I wanted you to feel like a child. And that could not be achieved in the same way from just a camera position, not completely. It didn't feel as intimate and as immersive as I wanted to be. So it was very important for me to be in the space. And that was also why I decided on having interactive elements in there. So you could really feel like you were part of this world that you were introduced to, not only just looking at it. You were not just an observer looking at the square format of a screen, but you were part of this world. You were there, and you had a connection with the mother as well. And that was also why it was so important for me to have the eye detection of the mother. So she tracks you around in the room when you're moving your head around. She will keep an eye on you and smile at you, to feel like there was this connection and that you did actually exist here. And then the what was the last question again? Sorry, that was. Could you repeat that again?
映画を作ってる普通の、
When you create ordinary films, the flat films, do you have different feelings when you're creating the flat films and when you're creating a VR works?
I do think so. I think that, obviously there's a benefit to both, mediums in that way. I think that it's with the square format, the regular film format, you have more of a compositional element of what you show. And I think it becomes a very, for me at least, it's very designed. It's like very designed. I really like to play with what the square format can do for me. So in that way, I think a lot about the square and the frame that we're playing within. Where in VR, it's much more about the space and the room. It's not so much about the design of what is immediately in your eyes, but more like what the room makes you feel like, and the scale and the lights and the different things and the colors in the room is much different to design for in this way. It's not as plannable as it is something that has to be prototyped, I would say.
なるほど、なるほど。確かに。
I see. So it's like designing a sense, and probably there's something common as the film, but not so much. Probably in designing the games, how the users feel. I think you have to really imagine that when you design that. So probably that has some common element with the VR. Thank you very much. Now, my question to Okita-san. The Book of Distance and Justice Amends, very effective interactions, I thought. And from now on, the state-of-art technology, such as VR, when you use that for expressions, how would you like to take up such technology and interaction? How do you is there anything that you thought about particular in trying to utilize this interaction in this VR experience?
Yeah, for me, I definitely connect to what Mikkel was just saying, and I was thinking a lot about the creation of spaces. And in our case, I was trying to create certain moments that I could only imagine. And so it was a lot about, what would it be like in that moment if somebody was standing there and we were standing here? What did my grandfather feel like when he was setting out on a journey, or when people were coming into his home? And so as a point of departure from there, the question extended to the activities of of sharing a passport or building a farm. And the thing that I learned about VR and the amazing possibilities when it comes to everything, but when it comes to interaction, is that what was really important was the meaning of the interaction. It wasn't about doing something really cool or something really visually impressive. It was more about engaging in an activity that had meaning. So, crossing a border and giving your passport, or feeding your family, or contributing to building something. These are the feelings that that have meaning and that connect you with the story. And this was kind of the really powerful realization for us. So of course you want to add a little bit of magic, and you want to do things that are elevated compared to real life. But I really learned that, along the telling of the story, it's all about the meaning that is connected to the interaction.
Thank you very much. Yes, certainly. All the interaction are really connected with the story of the work. And it's not just novice or just new, but I believe that interaction has all the meanings to every detail. Thank you very much. And well, I originally have a background of development of hardware, so hardware has been developing, and we have motion captures or eye tracking and facial captures, and so various technology are emerging. But how to use the technology is something that we have to think more. So my question is there any new technology that you would like to challenge, take up? For example, a certain technology within VR that you're focusing on. Is there anything that you can share with us?
Shu-san, are you still with us? Shu-san is gone. In that case, Mikkel-san, what kind of technologies would you like to try?
I mean, I just heard that the Steam is developing haptic gloves now, but this sounds like pretty expensive technology, and I will probably have to wait quite a while before I get to play with that. But it sounds really fun. It sounds like the next step is to feel the virtual world as well, even though how weird that might sound like. And I mean, right now, I still feel like we're on such a frontier with this medium right now that the thought of adding more on top of it is also daunting in a way. Like there's already so much to grasp to, and the medium has not even been defined to the extent that film has. So I still think that for now, I'm quite settled in what we have, and when all the new technology becomes much more available, then maybe I'll delve into that, and it's yeah. But for now, it's all good.
It's true. 360-degree space is still a lot of trial and error, a lot that we can try. But if you're interested in eye tracking, please let me know. Please contact me. Okay, interaction means Mikkel-san and Randall-san, your interactions were really fun. And what you were saying, that's something I'm looking forward to. But maybe Yuhara-san or maybe Hsu Chih-Yen-san? Interaction, users being involved in interaction. Is there anything you'd like to try? Anything you're interested in getting the users to try out the interaction? First, Yuhara-san, please. Yes, me. Regarding user interaction, after womb, I came up with Baby in the Cradle. That's another work. And there's a cradle like a hammock. And on the hammock, slowly, you can wear the head-mounted display and you can be rocked in the cradle, in the hammock. And what I wanted to do was, so like Kojima-san was doing with FOVE, I wanted to use sensors for blinking. And then when the user falls asleep, I wanted to move on to the next scene. So if they stop blinking, if they fall asleep, move on. But FOVE came up with this recently. I couldn't find it in any of the shops. So I couldn't do it. So me, by my falling asleep, the story moving forward, that's something I want to try out. Please tell me no. Please let me know. Please tell me. Yes, let's do that. A cradle VR. And blinking. Blinking, or what's the user looking at? You can detect that. So yes, I'd like to produce a film like that as well. Thank you. Next, Chih-Yen-san. If, regarding the user's interaction, you want to come up with a story with user interaction, something you'd like to try?
The most interesting to me is still like the point of view, because I still used to like the film, like the theater, the audience is audience. Even though in the VR environment, right now I won't try to let the audience into the story, but after the home experience, I'm thinking I'm prepared a next VR project is about like if I change the point of view, then what that feeling like last time I got 7 friends to my house. It's like drinking beer, watching TV, and we got a discussion. We got discussion about our teacher, and with this discussion about a girl in the house. So I start thinking what her feeling in her mind, even though the same word, same sentence, but different people here will got a different feeling. So that kind of interactive is about the point of view. So I thinking about if I try to do the 7 point of view, like when the first car is still one car, it's me. But after that, I jump to another friend. Then what's the story is going to be? That's trying in the interacting way. I'm going to try.
That sounds very interesting. Ghost in the shell. So it hijacks your point of view. So by entering that person's point of view, you can be and see that person's point of view. So what's that like? I'm interested in that experience. Thank you very much. And next, from the audience, we'd like to answer some questions from the audience. And this is a question for Chih-Yen. Yes, I've been listening and it's been very enjoyable. And I'm sorry this is a technical question, but how did you film home? I think there's probably a camera on a wheelchair, but how can you film to make it so real? I was really interested. And I have a question that's similar. So the type of camera, your images were very beautiful. So which camera did you use? Could you please answer my question as well? So that was a question for Shu-san.
The camera is putting on the wheelchair, and before the shooting, I do some research to another director work, a VR project. I focus on the how it's feeling when the camera is moving, but we didn't moving. So what's that feeling? So in the beginning, I find I would be dizzy because my body didn't move, but my mind is moving. So I find out there the speed limit. If going too slow, the audience can accept. So that's why I choose a grandma. I choose the wheelchair because the moving wheel so slow. That's the thing I going to challenge. It's like moving camera. What is a feeling like? And a second one is the reality. The equipment, honestly, I don't know what the equipment's name because it's a post-production house. They made the equipment by themselves. So when we are shooting, we got like 8 camera. So we have to do the 8 line to combine like each frame. So all the framing is 8K. So which is put it together is very huge. That's the reason why the quality is so high. But the bad side is all the audience, all the actor performers, they cannot stand up on the line because the facial will got the bug. So that's the hard thing need to do on. But the easy way, because it's the one shot. So the art director, the lighting director, it's easy to do more detail, more high quality. So we just need to focus on the performance and the camera. That's it.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. So all 8K cameras. So you put them together. That's why it was so beautiful. And by camera, you had to make sure that you made the actors stand in places where they would not be on the line. You had to make sure they were standing in the right place.
Yes. But so also I cannot like shooting film. I don't have the monitor because I'm the one. How to say that? I'm the one actor too. So I don't know. Nobody know what camera get shooting what. So it's all become the eye contact. Like you are going, oh yeah, bye bye, I will go with you. So it's quite like yeah, it's quite like the practicing and know each other. That's the hard thing to focus on.
なるほど。いやもう神業。
I see. So, whoa, it's just amazing, unbelievable. But it was a very natural family eye contacts, and that's how you came up with this work. So we have another question. The camera. Was it instant?
Sorry. Pardon.
カメラの機材はインスタタイタンですか？
The camera, was it instant? Titan. Insta Titan.
Okay.
Titan. Well, was the camera Insta Titan?
No. I'm not sure the name. Sorry, I'm not sure the camera's name. Sorry about that.
いえいえ。
I don't think it's Insta. No.
わかりました。大丈夫です。
I see. Thank you very much. I'm fine. But thank you very much. You've given a lot of tips. So we are running out of time. So all the panelists can ask questions to each other. I'm sure there are many questions that you would like to ask each other. Probably I should name one by one. So if you can tell who you want to ask question to, to who you want to direct the question to. Then let's start with Yuhara-san. Do you have any question to any other panelists? Mikkel, I have a question. In the CG's texture, I love that. It looks like a really hand-painted or handwritten, hand-drawn. And the things are not so squarey, but quite round. And I'm sure you put a lot of effort in that. And how did you direct that? That's my question.
Thank you so much. So the textures are hand painted. Yes, it was originally supposed to be computer generated because we were from the beginning quite nervous about the time it would take. But the computer generated texture just didn't look as charming and as personalized as we would like it to. So it ended up being all done in hand, which took a long time. But yeah, it was something I wanted because it was supposed to feel like, I wouldn't say a kid's book, but more like something a child would be able to relate to from the beginning. So you went into the child's world to begin with. So in that way, the texture played a huge part of the end product and the look of it in the end, the texture. So thank you so much for asking. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask how long it took, Mikkel?
Oof.
Like roughly speaking, the process?
I think that we had, how many people sitting on the textures? We had 4 people at some point sitting on the textures for maybe 1.5 months or something. And there was a lot of times where we had to change it because it was still a part of the iterative process in the way that we didn't really exactly know all the rules of the width of the lines that we used. So that was something we just had to try out as we went along. And as we found out one scene and how well that worked, we had to go back and change it sometimes in the other scenes to make it fit. So the style didn't change too much. So, yeah.
Very unique line, I think, is the feature of your work. And I didn't know that. I knew for the first time that there was such an effort. And does anyone else has a question to Mikkel-san?
I had a question. I was going to sort of ask everybody if I could. And, you know, I'm really interested in the process because it was so new for everybody, whether it's, you know, storyboards or, you know, different techniques that have been used along the way. I'm wondering what people would say was the most useful process in the making of the work that they would use again for the next one. Is that storyboarding or rehearsal or, you know, team meetings?
I can start again. We experimented a little bit with doing these VR painting softwares like Quill to storyboard it or prototype it in a way, because it was, as we found out very quickly, that working within just the frame, as you normally do with storyboards, just really didn't cut it enough. It was not enough. So we tried experimenting with kind of building these things, like painting it really quickly in like a 3D environment. And it seemed like it worked really well. It's that, and then prototyping a lot, like really building the set. I mean, we used Unity in our case. so building the sets, putting things in there, especially sound, is extremely important, as it is with normal film as well. You put sound and music in there, you get the atmosphere. But yes, it's definitely, in a way, for me at least, the development of VR is much closer to game development in a way, at least when it's interactive, because it's a constant iterative process of you trying something and seeing how it looks, and then going back and then again. And it's either that you find out that you need to scrap things or that you need to add things to make it all work out in the end. I found it really extremely pleasing to work with, I think.
For me, because mine is a real person shooting, because for the home, then I for my experience in home project, I find if the source, the originally, I find I have to tell this story. If I got that regret or that kind feeling really want to share, if I got that thing, the technique will easy figure out, or like, because like Taiwan is like really small, it's like everybody is quite close, so it's quite easy to find the people. So for my experience is I let the people know the emotional, the feeling about the story. That is the most important thing I got from home. That's it.
Thank you very much. Yuhara-san, please. Yes. In case of me, the most important process or useful process is that I think to show it to everybody. During the process, I showed it to many people around me, and that was very important. I created myself. So there are things that only I can understand, but that's not enough. And for example, when I shared it with everybody else, they didn't look at what I wanted them to see, or were looking at different things. So I showed it to other people and tried to have the feedback or where people would focus, and then rewrote it. And that was really important process for me. I see. 360 degrees. So people may look at what you want them to see. There are many cases like that. And sometimes that is good. Thank you very much.
And Okita-san, if you have any processes that you think are very important, that you value? Randall-san?
Yeah, we also did a kind of quick storyboarding using Quill and Tilt Brush, just to kind of get a sense of the space and kind of the blocking of where people would be and what was too far or what was too close. And even in that scenario, you can kind of get a sense of how to frame things or how to guide where people were looking. So that was good for some quick tests. And then I found prototyping, we call it gray boxing within Unity, just with blocks and blobs, very useful. And we did what we called actually like a role play. So one person would stand in the middle of the room, and they would just ask questions. Say, what happens now? What do I see? What if I do this? Or they could ask any question. What if I don't do this? What if I don't take the ticket? What if I look this way? What's going to happen? And so we would have the whole team there, and we would have to answer those questions. and come up with solutions. And I found that really useful because we would take turns, and sometimes we would get somebody from like a friend or somebody to play the user and just ask questions, and I would have to describe the story to them or show them an image. But that was a really useful process.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. So, contents that are interactive, and then live action, and then animation. So we say VR film, but there are lots of different elements, and the important processes are different and will probably change. That's what I thought as I was listening. Thank you. And Mr. Randall Okita's question was so good. It was such a good question, but now I don't have to ask my final question, I think, because his question was so good. But finally, regarding today's theme, regarding the possibilities of using VR film, maybe from the viewpoint of the producers, could we have a comment from each of you to finish things off? So, Shu Chih-Yen-san, would you like to start? What about the possibilities that you feel of VR film? Shu-san, are you with us? Shu Chih-Yen-san, are you? It looks like Shu Chih-Yen-san is gone. Until he comes back, maybe Yuhara-san, you could start? Right. So using VR, the possibilities of expressions using VR. Yes, sir, something to close things out, round things off. In the past, I was creating 2D animation, and I started with VR. And what I felt after starting VR is, in VR, how should I put this? So it's not just watching, it's changing to experiencing. That's the feeling I get. In the past, the director would have things that the director wanted to show, and a person sitting in a chair would have to watch. So this would be shown. That was the experience. But now, the audience need to go there and proactively go and experience. I think that's probably what we will see in the future. That's what I felt as I was producing in VR. Thank you. That's true. Me too, watching these works. In the past, with VR film, more than the ones I've seen over the past few years, this time I felt that everyone emphasizes the actual feeling and sensing. Next, Mikkel-san. Using VR, what are the possibilities you feel?
I am agreeing a lot with Yuhara-san. A lot. It's I think it is about experiencing more than observing. That's definitely where we're going with this medium, in my opinion. I think that what the medium is also, as I talked about earlier with the haptic gloves, like being able to feel this world and interact with it, not only with our head movement but by our hands, but also maybe more with like our whole body and more of our sensations is going to bring us even closer to being part of this like parallel reality that is kind of being created right now. Where we can completely create a world for someone to experience, not only just the visual input of it, but the sensational input. So yeah.
Thank you. It's true. So if you go after the feeling, the senses, it's like you're actually in that space. You'll be able to experience that. That would be good. Thank you. Next, Okita-san, same question, please, the possibilities.
Endless possibilities. Well, first, I think there's something really interesting that many people, even among these artists on the panel, we're taking something familiar and for some of us, family or history, and we're looking at it with a new lens. So I think it really brings up a lot of possibilities of new ways to look at the past or new ways to look at the familiar, which I think, sort of reminds us of the real meaning of whether, you know, that's a relationship, a maternal relationship, or, you know, what home means, or what we can learn from our past. I think there's something really interesting there. And for me, I think the future of VR is it's going to be part of our story, you know, universe. I think that I hope that theaters, you know, stay. I hope that cinemas survive. But I also think that, you know, I'm going to listen to podcasts maybe on my phone, and sometimes I'm going to watch things on my computer, and sometimes I'm going to put on a headset to have a different experience. And, you know, I don't know exactly what the balance will be, or what kind of stories will really become popular, but I think that that's going to be part of everyday life in the future for sure, because it's such a wonderful tool.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. It's true. With VR appearing, media is changing, and the existing media. So what's the roles and differences going to be? I think we are now at a turning point. Thank you. And lastly, Chih-Yen-san. So please talk about that's okay. Yes, you've come back at perfect timing. So what do you think about the possibilities of using VR?
Sorry about my internet. For me, for the home, it just share one more feeling, because the home is kind of warm story, or the regret story, but interesting. When I show the like different age audience, some people will tell me, wow, it's a really warm story, but somebody tell me, wow, it's so scary, because he feel like, oh my god, I'm grandma, everybody's so close to me, and stop say hello to me. So it's interesting. Like I did a story, but it's totally different meaning to everybody. But in the film, it's one like huge feedback. That's just interesting the VR experience to me. And for the possibility in the future in Taiwan, I think lots of people still like experimental, like some hip hop rapper. They start to do the 360 VR 360 music video, and some friends doing like the gallery to see the 360 photo. It's like into the museum, and you got the VR glasses, and you so lots of people doing the different thing. But for me, I more care about the university, like how many people you can show your work. If everybody is like in their home, and they can choose turn off, or they can choose any time to take off, because we got IG, we got Facebook, we got Netflix. That's the thing I more care about right now. I cannot control the amount of people, and also their focus.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. That's right. Listening to you all, virtual reality, it starts with feeling. Unlike the ordinary films, users have their own feeling, own way of feeling, and just like shooting in, you cannot control the focus or how they feel compared with the ordinary films, because everybody has their own way of feeling, and that's why it has such a depth. And I myself, virtual reality, I have been working for this company for like 6 or 7 years, and I've been involved in VR, but the VR works that you are all screening, I believe, have the latest expression and also the stories are so well combined and mixed together. So VR films, I believe, that all the grammars or rules are not yet there. And I believe that new things are yet to come. And in that situation, up until now, it was like the new the things are, then it's valuable. So being new was important. But now I think it's approaching that the importance of story is now being stressed. So I believe that we are at the moment of the change of the storytelling. So, and that's what I feel right now. I'm even more convinced today. So we have passed the scheduled time, but we talked about the possibilities felt by new creators of VR films. And yes, we felt the endless possibilities filled. Thank you very much to you all. And the storytelling in VR, I hope that you will just continue to create new possibilities. Well, once again, thank you very much for joining us. So everybody, please wave your hands to the audience, to the camera, and say bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
イベントご出演者の皆さん、ありがとうございました。さて、ここからは、ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式ナビゲーターの届きゆかから、改めて映画祭についてお知らせです。日本初の VR 映画に特化した国際映画祭、ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルは、2月12日金曜日から21日日曜日まで10日間にわたって開催中です。3作品にアワードが授与される本映画祭の審査員は、映画監督の園志音さん、作家・画家の大宮エリーさん、ブランドコンサルタントで株式会社スピーディー社長の福田敦さんという豪華なメンバー。さらにアンバサダーにはコムアイさんが就任。僕、映画祭公式ナビゲーターの届きゆかもバーチャルの世界で生きる者として VR の様々な表現の発展を応援していきますので、皆様どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。もしよろしければ本日のイベントのご感想や VR 映画を体験いただいたご感想を SNS で投稿いただけたらとっても嬉しいです。その際はハッシュタグ BTFF2021 ハッシュタグ VR 映画でお願いします。また今日のアーカイブ映像は後日映画祭公式 YouTube チャンネルで3ヶ月間配信されますので、そちらもご覧ください。映画祭について詳しく知りたい方はビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式サイトをご覧ください。それでは皆様ご視聴ありがとうございました。バイバーイ。